Our next speaker is an architect and partner at Dialog, formerly Hotzenbacher Boniface Haden Architects. His architecture and urban design work has been recognized globally, particularly for the Governor General's and World Architecture Festival winning design for Enkimip Desert Cultural Center. His design work ranges widely. He's done wastewater treatment plants. He's also done coffee shops. Currently, he is working on renovating a post office building in northern BC for an arts center and the competition-winning design of the Canadian Navy Monument in Ottawa. He is the chair of the Vancouver Urban Design Panel and has taught at the UBC School of Architecture. He has done freelance work for CBC Radio with respect to design and social issues and was the Vancouver correspondent for Canadian Architect magazine for 10 years. He is also the president of the board of Vancouver's Contemporary Art Gallery. Please welcome Bruce Haden.
One of the tricks here is to always remember to update your resume. At least 2 of those facts are wrong. The first 2 slides are of the Enkimip Desert Cultural Center. They illustrate what I'm actually not going to talk about tonight, which is form making, even though I deeply love making buildings. The black and white images following are from Lincoln Clark's Heroines photo essay of women in the downtown east side. The color images are of my younger brother, Paul Haden. The reason for this juxtaposition will become clear shortly, but this is in part a story of family I'm going to tell tonight. I firmly believe that form making is an important societal contribution. I've been honored by the recognition of our work in making buildings in cities. However, I also believe as an architect and urban designer that part of my larger responsibility to my city is to speak out on issues of social concern, even non-design related issues. While many designers speak out very effectively, especially with respect to sustainability, not enough of us do so. I also believe social criticism is most effective when sharpened with personal experience. So let me start. On Saturday, June 7th, 2008, I just finished presenting the work of my team's 2 days of very intense design charrette work focused on the Great Northern Way campus when I started receiving phone calls saying my younger brother Paul had gone missing. He and I were going to have dinner that night. I drove with his girlfriend to his 3-story stucco walk-up at the corner of Balsam and Broadway in Kitsilano. As we climbed the stairs, we noticed a terrible chemical stench. His apartment door was blocked by a heavy object. That object was Paul's body. He had died while he was trying to get out of his apartment. According to the autopsy, he'd been dead for at least a day. Paul was born because my parents were worried that the large gap between me and my next older brother, who's here tonight, and myself would leave me lonely and spoiled. The 2 of us played for when we were babies together, everywhere from the woods of Eastern Ontario, where we grew up, to the watering holes of East Vancouver. When he died, he was a respected and much-liked lab technician at Burnaby General Hospital. He loved science and had previously worked at UBC researching new antibiotics from marine sources. He was a deeply generous guy, a great cook, a better uncle than I am to our nieces and nephew, and incredibly funny. He was also a manufacturer of illegal drugs, principally ecstasy. He believed that drug use was, like prostitution, an ingrained aspect of any advanced culture that can never be wiped out by prohibition. In his view, the greatest harm in our culture's relationship with substances was the absence of a safe supply and the lack of honest and real information about responsible use and risks. This harm is a direct result of our legal system that treats issues of drugs and addiction as criminal justice matters, not as issues of health and education. Put another way, he knew that kids were going to do E at raves no matter how many cops we have on the street. He thought they should know what they were doing. He died while purifying 2.2 kilos of dirty street ecstasy in his kitchen. The beakers of chemicals boiled on his stovetop for 24 hours before we discovered his body. Everything in his apartment was destroyed as toxic waste. We could not even get the family photos from his hard drive. Well, he was committed to safety of supply for ecstasy users. My brother was no hero. He loved the juice of illegal activity. He lied to me for several years in telling me he was out of the business. His death forced his neighbors to evacuate the building on incredibly short notice for 2 days. That is inexcusable. Completely inexcusable. It's very hard when someone you've loved your whole life has passions that are illegal and dangerous. Paul's complex nature was well described by Frances Beulah in Vancouver magazine in 2009. Her blog had a good debate about my brother, except maybe for the burn his body and send the bill to his parents type comments. Let me use another family example. Our father was a successful and highly ethical and thoughtful psychiatrist. He was also an alcoholic. Because his drug of choice was scotch, of which there is a reliable and clean supply at the liquor store, he was able to have an outstanding career and raise a loving family. Had his drug of choice been heroin, I would not be here tonight talking to you. There is a direct line between the death of my brother, the suffering in the downtown east side, gang violence in Vancouver, and 50,000 vicious drug war deaths in Mexico. And let's not forget at least 10 recent deaths in BC and Alberta caused by scum selling toxic ecstasy. This is completely unnecessary garbage. Our current legal system of prohibition guarantees massive harm and puts vast sums of money, extraordinary power, and guns into the hands of assholes. Is this what we actually really want? I want to close on a different note. For me, the worst part of the day Paul died was not being stripped and decontaminated while shaking with grief, not dealing with the police, and not answering calls from the media. It was telling our mother. When we told her their youngest son was dead, in fact, the third of her 6 children to die, despite her upwelling of grief, she started a conversation that I found odd at the time. She began talking about our travel plans to Ottawa months away. You see, my mom was to be my date at Rideau Hall to get a Governor General's medal on behalf of the office for the in-commute design. I invited her because I would never have been an architect without my parents' long years of support. But I couldn't understand why she would need to talk about the ceremony then. In the face of family catastrophe, the event seemed completely irrelevant. Later, I understood that in the face of blackness, she needed some light to move towards. And my mom is a woman who always lives and moves towards the light. Later still, she told me that she was too old to ever get over the loss of Paul, but that did not need to ruin everything in her life. And she could still contribute to the world with her passion for community. For me, that value in contribution is inspirational and something I want to pass on to my new son, Paul Griffin Haden. Thank you.